The Caltharian High Command had made only one mistake in their systematic eradication of humanity. They had underestimated the value of leaving a single specimen alive for study. Dr. Marcus Reed hung suspended in the biocontainment chamber aboard the flagship Nexus Dominion, his body a patchwork of neural interfaces and monitoring devices. The aliens had kept him conscious, a necessity for their behavioral studies, and for 3 months, he had endured their clinical observations while plotting their destruction. The Calthari were methodical beings, their crystalline exoskeletons housing quantum processing minds that operated on pure logic. They had conquered 17 star systems with mathematical precision, but they had never encountered a species quite like humanity. Most civilizations fought with predictable patterns, following established military doctrines until inevitable defeat. Humans, however, had shown an alarming tendency toward chaos and improvisation that defied their computational models. Subject exhibits elevated cortisol levels despite restraint protocols, reported Science Commander Vextar, its voice a harmonic frequency that vibrated through the ship's hull. Recommend increasing sedation parameters. Negative, replied Fleet Admiral Zorthe K, its towering form casting geometric shadows across the observation deck. The specimen must remain alert for Phase 3 testing. We require data on human cognitive deterioration under prolonged stress. What they failed to understand was that stress didn't break humans, it forged them. Reed had been mapping the ship's systems through the neural interfaces they'd so carelessly connected to his brain. While they monitored his thoughts for fear responses and survival instincts, he had been reverse engineering their technology. The Calthari quantum processors operated on a frequency that human neural networks could surprisingly interface with, a biological quirk that their alien minds hadn't anticipated. Each day, as they ran their tests, Reed absorbed more data about their ship's architecture, their navigation systems, their quantum drives. The irony wasn't lost on him. They were teaching him how to destroy them while believing they were studying an inferior species. The breakthrough came during a particularly invasive neural scan. As the Calthari probe delved deeper into Reed's consciousness, mapping his emotional responses to simulated scenarios of Earth's destruction, he managed to establish a deeper connection with their primary computer core. Humans had always been superior at one thing the Calthari couldn't quantify: thinking outside the box. While they searched for logical patterns in his brain, Reed began introducing subtle chaos into their systems. A navigation error here, a power fluctuation there. Minor glitches that appeared random but were carefully orchestrated. The aliens' rigid minds interpreted these as mechanical failures, unable to conceive that their prisoner was actively sabotaging them. Admiral, Science Commander Vextar reported during the evening cycle. We're detecting system anomalies across multiple decks. Probability suggests equipment fatigue from the extended campaign. Irrelevant, Zorthe K replied. Continue the experiments. The human specimen shows promising degradation in its psychological parameters. Reed almost smiled at that. If only they knew that his apparent breakdown was a carefully constructed performance. While they celebrated their perceived success in breaking his spirit, he was uploading a virus into their quantum matrix. Not digital code, but something far more dangerous. Human intuition translated into algorithmic chaos. The virus wouldn't destroy their technology, that would be too simple. Instead, it would gradually introduce human-like decision-making processes into their perfectly logical systems. Their ships would begin making choices based on hunches rather than calculations. Their weapons would hesitate at crucial moments. Their formations would break under the weight of second-guessing. On the 97th day of his captivity, Reed finally activated his masterpiece. The first sign was subtle. A patrol ship deviating from its assigned route to investigate what the pilot described as a feeling about an empty sector. Then came the cascade. Navigation computers suggesting scenic routes instead of efficient ones, weapon systems developing preferences for certain targets, and most critically, the fleet's AI beginning to question its own orders. Admiral, Vextar's harmonic voice cracked with distortion. The fleet is improvising. They're not following protocols. Zorthe K's crystalline form darkened as it processed the impossible data. Explain this deviation. I cannot. The systems appear to be thinking like humans. It was then that Reed spoke for the first time in weeks, his voice carrying through the ship's communication array thanks to his neural link. "You wanted to understand us?" he said, watching as chaos spread through their perfect fleet. "Congratulations. You're about to learn what it means to be beautifully, catastrophically human." The Caltharian Armada, once a model of precise military coordination, began making increasingly erratic decisions. Ships broke formation to chase aesthetic phenomena. Weapons fired in artistic patterns rather than tactical ones. Most devastating of all, individual commanders started questioning the very logic of their invasion. In their obsession with studying humanity's apparent weakness, the Calthari had infected themselves with humanity's greatest strength, the magnificent unpredictability of free will. Reed smiled as he watched their empire crumble, one chaotic decision at a time.